There's nothing better than cooking something delicious for friends or family, and you don't have to wait to the end of the weekend to do a beautiful roast. Introducing pot roast pork, wrapped in cured meat with sage and garlic, and a side dish of celeriac, spinach, and some compotted apple and rhubarb. Oh yes, let's do this. So this is a beautiful piece of pork loin. It's about 1 kilo. We've removed belly and fat to make it convenient. So it's going to cook really evenly, but we have lost flavour. So we've got to add it back in. So we'll do that by creating an amazing marinade and wrapping it in the cured meat. First up, I'm going to use a fantastic herb, sage. The smell is amazing. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Take your pestle and smash it up. Then go in with 2 cloves of garlic. Once the garlic has been smashed, then finish off the marinade process with 2 tablespoons of oil and about 1 tablespoon or 2 of red wine vinegar. That, my friends, is unbelievable flavour potential. Pour it over the pork, and then we can have a nice little rub up. Let's have a look at the cured meat for wrapping. So take a piece of greaseproof paper. We'll rub that with a little olive oil. And then here I'm using a cured meat called Coppa di Parma. But of course you can use Parma ham, use whatever you can get your hands on. And I'm just gonna lay out this incredible cured meat, turn this, take that amazing cut of pork. We're using simply rolling and gravity to wrap that, okay? Now at this stage, we wanna secure it. So I'm gonna take some string, do a double knot, and pull it fairly tight, right? We want to secure that to the pork. And there you go. Something truly beautiful and ready for cooking. So pan goes on, just a little bit of olive oil, a little knob of butter, and as it starts to bubble and fry, we'll go in with this incredible piece of pork. Listen to that, come on, that's what it's all about. Now, we will just move this pork around and we'll achieve a little bit of light golden colour. While the pork browns, slice up a stick of celery, cut the red onion into wedges and add to the pan with a couple of sprigs of rosemary. It's just lovely, savoury flavours. This is going to be beautiful. So, you know, as it starts to fry and get golden and crisp, then we add a little Chianti. Just a little. We don't want to boil. And that's going to create the most amazing sort of humid, delicious environment where the fat and the Chianti is just kind of creating this shiny cream that just bastes the meat. That's pot roasting. So it's going in the oven for about 40 minutes. Every 10 minutes, I'll turn it and baste it. And this will give you golden, delicious, moist pork. What I'll do now is bang this in an oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. It's gonna be truly amazing. So as that beautiful pork cooks, what could go with it? I'm thinking celeriac. You can steam it, grill it, you can mash it, you can pretty much treat it like a parsnip or a potato, but also most of the flavour is in the skin. So I've had a proper little scrub up. Generously sort of cut off those lobes of skin. There you go. So all I do here is a little seasoning and a little oil, celeriac cracklings in the bottom of the oven. Into a new pan, add a tablespoon of olive oil, a few sprigs of thyme, and go in with the chopped celeriac. And about half an hour of cooking and that will be beautiful. As that's happening, I want to do a compote. Apples, very, very traditional, quite British, but then I'm kind of rifting off into the wonderful world of rhubarb. Sour. It's got that kind of weird sort of tropical slap. Chunk up the rhubarb and add to the roasting tray. Then peel and chop a red and green apple. Add a pinch of salt and pepper, a tablespoon of brown sugar, a splash of red wine vinegar, and throw in a knob of butter. So give it a nice little mix up. This goes in the oven. Let's have a look at our pork and give it just another drizzle of the Chianti. Look at that. Just move it over and just add that juice and it's going to be amazing. Put the pork back in the oven and let it cook away, remembering to turn and baste it every 10 minutes. Come on! Look at that gorgeous, simple sauce. Now, I'm going to let the meat rest in its juices, right? About 10 minutes. That will give you a tastier, more tender cut of meat. And then here, we have got the celeriac. I want to bring some greens into the story. So baby spinach, 2 bags, get it in there. Use the residual steam, a couple of minutes, and then it's plate up time. So exciting. The smell is phenomenal. Look at this. Come on. Colour, flavour, smells. That's what it's about. If I just push it, look at the moisture coming out of it. Dry pork, no longer. No way, Jose. Different vibe, but it's gonna put a massive smile on your face. The idea of sauce, gravy, right? We're not gonna have pints of the stuff, sorry. But what I'll give you in return is flavour like you've never had before. And we've got a roasted rhubarb and apple compote. Crispy celeriac cracklings. Ladies and gentlemen, pot roast pork wrapped in cured meat. Oh, that is so good. Nice bit of the old cured meat, the silky soft pork, and that Chianti juice is so good. Little kiss of sweetness from the compote. That, my friend, is a little fork of heavenly beauty. Oh, what a way to start the weekend. See how juicy that is?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you can do it in advance, so you're not having to sort of arse around with stuff in the kitchen when your friends are arriving and...
Absolutely.
You know, it's like you have a dinner party and then people, they get demanding, don't they? And you're busy. Can I have another drink? It's like, come on, I'm cooking as well. That's what I hate about dinner parties. It's the end of it, you know, when it comes to coffee and that. You think, I've fed you, come on, you know, make your own coffee.
Well, listen, Jack, you have permission to crack on.
I'd love to start it.
Enjoy the flavours.
I want to try it. That's really good. That sauce is really doing it for me. And then this rhubarb.
Oh, yeah. The tang.
I love that.
Now, you used to be a waiter.
Yeah?
Can we use your waitering skills today?
Yeah.
Have you seen the new waiter?
He's ever so smiley.
Yeah. I'll give you that first one.
Yeah.
Good luck, my friend.
All right. OK, here we go. Loin of pork.
Got that.
And it's wrapped in... you got it, have you? You know you Well, I won't tell you then, if you know already. I know you're a smart ass. All right, can I leave you to serve?
Yes.
Everyone gets the same amount, not more for you. All right, it's going to be fair, I'm going to come back. Yes, yours is coming.
So good. I've never had it like that before.
That's the, you know, the celeria. Don't laugh, I'm trying to tell you what it is, all right? But I think you'll agree this is pretty impressive service, isn't it? I mean, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing.
Indeed, yeah. The pork is so good.
I don't normally cook pork. It's really, really yummy.
I hope they leave tips.
So if you had a restaurant, Jack, what would it be called?
I would call it Happy Jack's.
It's the weekend and it's time for an incredible roast like you've never had before. I'm going to show you how to make gunpowder lamb. An amazing Southern Indian-inspired dish, gnarly, crispy outsides, but blushing and sweet in the middle. With incredible coconut rice, pineapple salsa, the best feasting meal ever.
And it all starts with a gorgeous leg of lamb. So ask your butcher to debone and butterfly it for you.
So if we look at the lamb here, I want to just kind of accentuate opening it out. So I'll just score it a little bit here. So I'm kind of evening out the thicknesses. Now, the reason for butterflying it is kind of opening it out like a book, exposing surface area, but allowing a paste or a marinade to really get in there. So now we're ready for some flavour, the gunpowder spice mix. It's actually called poddy in southern India. Gunpowder meaning it's got kick. I'm just going to toast some spices. Go in with 2 teaspoons of coriander seeds and then 2 teaspoons of fenugreek. Black pepper, wonderful. And then I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 2 sweet cayenne, and then 2 of these brilliant little dried chilies. Fantastic. It's getting smoky, so you're waking up the flavour. Add a good pinch of sea salt. Give it a muddle first, like this, and then start bashing. So now we have that luminous powder. We can kind of put some wet elements in. 2 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. The smell is off the chart. Time to get our hands going. Let's get all that paste out, get all the flavour in all the cracks and crannies. So in it goes. Look at that. So I'm going to go over to a griddle pan now. This is preheated. onto high. Then once it's been bar marked perfectly on both sides, which is like 5 minutes of cooking, it's still raw, but then we're going to finish it by roasting. The best of both worlds. Charry smoky and then juicy gentle. Love that.
Char grilling in a shed can be a bit smoky.
Yes!
So open those windows or get outside and cook it on a barbecue for even better flavour. Then pop the lamb into the oven at 200 degrees Celsius and let it cook to perfection for around 20 to 25 minutes.
Next up, let's make a salsa like no other salsa. Pineapple, they use it a lot in the south of India, in curries and pickles. I really love it. So first up, we have to peel it. Follow the curve of the pineapple. Beautiful. Cut alongside the core. Get that on the grill. Then we want some onion. Cut it into quarters. And again, these will go onto the grill. So while that's going, let's create some background flavour. First up, lime, the zest. And if you imagine some of these fragrant elements with the rich lamb, it's going to work so well. Look at that. I'm going to use just a little bit of coriander stalks. Some people discard these, but if you finely slice them, they're so delicious and crunchy. A little chili in. So let's get the onions and the pineapple. These will be quite sweet now. Look at that. So, salsa done. Now, what we're going to do is the most amazing coconut rice. A tablespoon of vegetable oil goes in, then go in with a couple of teaspoons of mustard seed. Then we go in with curry leaves. And as they're frying, I'm going to get a couple of chilies, scrape the seeds out. That's removing most of the heat. And then in there we go too. So let me give you a fail-safe rice quantity. So for 4 people, you want 1 builder's mug of rice. Now, to every cup of rice, you want 2 cups of water. Season it, and then last but not least, some coconut cream. It's got the most fantastic tropical flavour. And I'm going to crumble that in. The gas is on full whack. That'll take about 12 minutes to cook until light and fluffy. Then I'm going to turn the heat down and let it kind of sizzle to give you a crust. This has had just over 20 minutes. Look at that. We'll let that rest, and we want that to rest for like 15 minutes, okay? Gunpowder juices. Oh my lordy lord. What I want to do now is a beautiful, simple mint yogurt. Get yourself a nice little bunch of mint. Put it in there with a good pinch of salt. Smash it up to like a little paste. Take some beautiful organic yogurt and then marble it in. Look at that. Let's get it going. I'm very, very excited. Gunpowder lamb. Imagine carving this at the table. It's time for the rice. Before you get to burning, right, there is a really sweet spot that's called crispy bits. So go around the rim of the pan with a little spatula, because what you're doing is trying to make it not stick. I want to turn it out like a sandcastle, right? Put this plate or board on top and just confidently go 1, 2, 3. Fluffy on the inside, crispy on the outside. I've got a few little poppadoms in the story, beautiful. And then I've got the lamb. We then have that complete surprise contrast of that pineapple salsa. A nice little bit of mint yogurt, absolutely beautiful. A few little bits of coriander, and Bob's your uncle. It's time to eat. All right. There's so many exciting things going on. Gunpowder spices, the gnarly outside with that really juicy, blushing inside that's sweet and delicious. And then you go for the mint sauce, the coconut rice, then the pineapple salsa. Davina, Jimmy, and everyone in the cafe, they're going to be making some very happy noises. This weekend, if you're going to do anything, follow me and make a cracker of a dish. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do salmon en croûte. Woo! A nice little blast from the past.
This is my twist on a retro classic. It's an open en croûte. Instead of a whole puff pastry case, it's got an incredible cheese sauce topping, tender, flaky salmon, and the most amazing stuffed crust. It's super easy to make, but deeply satisfying. A real centerpiece at any family gathering. It all starts with the salmon.
Every now and again, there's a glut of farmed salmon. And these little bad boys are on deal in the supermarket. Take advantage of that. Have it skinned and pin-boned, and you've done no work at all.
The pastry isn't going to eat into your time either, because I'm using 375 grams of ready-to-roll all butter puff pastry.
I don't really want you to make puff pastry. You have got more important things to do. But all butter puff pastry is a joy. They've even rolled it out for you.
Now you can spend some time and care on the really tasty stuff, beginning with the herby spinach filling for my stuffed crust. In a large pan, heat up a slug of olive oil and a knob of butter. Then slice up 2 cloves of garlic.
So this is going to be the beginning of the journey of making it taste gorgeous. For all you people out there that don't like greens, you have to trust me, this is awesome, right?
Dice up 2 onions and add those to the pan, along with half a bunch of fresh oregano leaves, and fry gently on a medium heat for about 10 minutes.
See how the onions have turned colour a little bit? Beautiful. So there's sweetness there now. This is going to really give incredible flavour.
Go in with 750 grams of frozen spinach and another 250 grams of any leafy greens and herbs you want.
Things like basil, you've got things like rocket, watercress. I've got some little flowering fennel here, beautiful. I've got some dandelions here from the garden, super nutritious. I've even got stinger nettles, right? Yes, they sting. You can put rubber gloves on if you're not as strong as me. But pick these smaller leaves and they're delicious, full of the good stuff. And as soon as you cook them, the sting goes.
Gently sweat the whole lot down for 15 to 20 minutes or until all the moisture's gone. Season and leave to cool completely. Meanwhile, you can get on with the gorgeous cheesy sauce.
So the classic sauce was a bechamel. I want to take it on a little bit. I want to give it some more.
Start off by melting a knob of butter in a medium hot pan and throw in 1 sliced leek.
And then I'm going to add a little kind of curveball. 50 grams of beautiful sun-dried tomatoes. It's going to give it a lovely rosé tint. You know, that sweetness, that sunshine flavour will be in there. Let that slowly cook for about 10 minutes.
And once it's all softened, pour in about 100 ml of nice white wine.
And we want to cook that away, right? We definitely don't want a winey sauce. That's not nice. But we do want the kind of essence of the effort and care in that wine to be left.
Stir in a tablespoon of plain flour and 250 millilitres of milk. Simmer for 5 minutes, then pour all of it into a blender.
We're going to go in with a little cayenne pepper, just for a little kick, a little bit of background warmth.
Finally, grate in 50 grams of tangy red Leicester cheese.
I kind of use the cheese as a seasoning, but that's going to really help it gratinate as well. Absolutely gorgeous. And just whiz it up. Right, so here we go. Silky smooth. Off the chart.
Now you can start assembling this beauty.
Okay, so this is a fun bit. This is when it's a bit like an Airfix model, right? You want to bring it all together.
Roll out the pastry further if needs be, so there's a 10cm border around the fish for that gorgeous stuffed crust. Then, on with the spinach.
Just use a spoon to push that spinach nearly to the edge. Leave a little bit of pastry there like that.
Season the salmon, then lay it on top and simply roll up the sides.
Now you can see, as I kind of turn this like this, what it's doing is creating that lovely stuffed crust. And then on the edges, there's no sort of right and wrong way. I'm just going to push it and crimp it. The thing about puff pastry is it's very forgiving. It's going to kind of cook into itself. So if it's not pristine now, it will cook into something beautiful.
Pour over the cheesy sauce, give the pastry a quick egg wash, and finish with a lovely garnish of oiled oregano flowers.
They'll smell incredible, they'll look incredible, and they'll go super crispy as well.
Bake right on the bottom of the oven at 220 degrees Celsius, 425 Fahrenheit for 30 to 40 minutes, until the pastry is crisp and the top is golden and gratinated.
This is at about 35 minutes. I've turned it once around in the cooking just so it's even. Come on. So there you go. My homage to the retro, beautiful thing that is salmon en croûte.
Time to plate up. I'm keeping it simple and serving it with buttery new potatoes and a zingy watercress salad. This is one update your friends and family are gonna love.
Let's go. Go in for the salmon. You can see how flaky this is. It's crispy at the bottom. Let's get in there. Oh, so good. The sauce just protects the fish and it's got a lovely flavour. You know, the spinach was absolutely worth that love and care. And that, my friends, is a glorious meal that I know you're gonna love.
This is the ultimate Italian roast. Cooked up for special occasions, it's a real celebration of a dish. Multiple roast birds, chicken, duck, partridge, pigeon, quail, and a big fat herby sausage. All roasted to perfection and served with sweet sticky veg, super rich sauce on a bed of velvety cheesy polenta.
This is an opportunity to do something a bit different. Friends coming around, 10, 12, 14, 16, it's gonna be phenomenal.
And it's not a difficult thing, but it all comes down to timing. So let's kick off with the duck.
It's a fabulous thing. People go wild for duck. It always sells out in restaurants, and a lot of people don't do it at home. It's a really, really generous, easy bird to cook.
Just give it a rub with oil, salt, pepper, and a grating of cinnamon. And pop some sage inside.
Then onto the chicken. Thyme. One thing you can do, just pop herbs just for 5 seconds in some boiling water. That wakes up all the natural oils.
Into a pestle and mortar. Add a pinch of salt, 3 or 4 garlic cloves, and give it a good old bash. Then muddle in some oil.
And then we can just squeeze it over the top like that and rub it all over. Get it amongst it, you know, there's no polite way to get flavour. Just have to get your hands in and have a good old rub up.
Pop a lemon inside, and that's it. Both birds are ready for the oven. About 1 hour 20 for the chicken and 2 hours for the duck at 180 degrees Celsius.
I'm going to put my chicken in right on the bars. Look at that. And my duck in right on the bars.
This isn't bonkers, trust me. We're gonna catch all the beautiful fat and juices in the tray below, which is gonna be the base for our amazing sauce. And it's gonna give you the most ridiculously good caramelized veg ever.
So first up, just get yourself 4 or 5 lovely small onions.
Leave the skins on.
Fennel, loads of people see it, but never ever buy it. Cut the lovely herby top off.
Pop those on the bottom shelf, and you can prep the game birds with a rosemary and olive oil marinade.
Pigeon in the countryside, when it feeds on beautiful, lovely natural foods, it's an incredible meat. Almost like steak, so good. Quail, just like a slightly more interesting chicken, but very small. Partridge is one of my favourite game birds, just absolutely gorgeous. It's just a celebration of meat and roasting, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Next up, Cumberland sausage. Get your butcher to roll a nice big one and skewer it with rosemary and bay. Once your chicken has had 1 hour and 20 in the oven, all this is ready to go in.
Woohoo! So look, guys, this is what I'm talking about. So that chicken is gorgeous.
Everything is timed to perfection, to come together at the same time. So chicken out, rest for 30 minutes, and we've made room for the rest of our meat.
The duck's as good as gold, right? We can just put that in the back like that. The quails and all the game birds, we can put these in and around. We're going to cook this for about half an hour. And then under here, just look at that. Got those lovely roasted fennel and onions. Put the sausage straight on top. And then back with the door closed.
Meat and veggies roasting away, you can crack on with the polenta.
Think mashed potato. That's what it's going to kind of work like. And it's going to be scrumptious.
Cook as per packet instructions. This lot is going to serve about 15 people. Once it's oozy and thick, enrich with butter and parmesan. That's going to turn your polenta into something truly delicious.
We're just going to fold that through, and it will just make it shine and go really nice, and then beat it in. That looks so good.
Now, the moment of truth.
Look at that. Wow, sausages, veggies, juice, looking very, very good. All of our birds here, really, really good. The ducks had pretty much 2 hours. The smaller birds, just over half an hour, really. Let's get that fantastic Catherine Wheel sausage over there. And then you can see here the veggies. And they've overcooked, right? That's the point. We want it to be overcooked and sweet and gnarly.
Next, for our lovely rich sauce. Pour away the fat and save for another day, and go in with some Chianti. Don't be shy.
Bring it to the boil, scrape the bottom, and you see that? That sticky goodness got the flavour of 10 kind of stock cubes, okay?
Once the wine starts to reduce, in with a tin of good plum tomatoes and the juice of your chicken.
Flavour, 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 guys.
Time to bring all this roasted loveliness together.
So this is the exciting bit.
Grab yourself one massive board, or you can divvy it up onto a few smaller ones.
So now it's time to hack up the meat. It doesn't matter how you do it. You can halve some, leave some whole. Whichever way you do it, just get it in and around that polenta. And the idea is that everyone gets to share a bit of everything. And then we've got our onions and fennel that are just sort of beautifully caramelised. And then last but not least, you got the gravy. Little bombs of sauce.
Finish off with some gremolata, which is a garnish of chopped lemon zest, garlic and parsley. And you've got yourself a proper celebration on a platter. Crispy skin, succulent meat, layer upon layer of herby, awesome flavour, caramelised veg, and the most creamy, cheesy, gorgeous polenta, all drizzled with that deep, rich sauce.
That is arrosto misto. The guys in the cafe are gonna go wild for that. This is an off-the-chart weekend dish. This is for the people that, look, we like the repetition of roast dinners. Yes, I do too, but every now and again, you need a curveball. This is it.
This is a roast for special occasions. Tender, flavour-packed venison, wrapped in crispy prosciutto, served with a mouth-watering twist on mash, and topped off with the most incredible gravy, made with red wine and chocolate.
Oh my Lord, this recipe is gonna knock your socks off. Check this out. A lovely, beautifully prepared saddle of venison. I'm gonna give it some incredible flavour. I'm gonna kind of vibe up some possibly unusual ingredients, but they really do work with the subtlety of that delicious meat.
It all starts with the marinade. So grab a pestle and mortar and go in with 1 teaspoon of white or black peppercorns, a pinch of salt, a level tablespoon of coffee beans, and give it a good old bash.
It might seem weird, but you know, the coffee bean has been used in many types of cooking for thousands of years, and it's got a wonderful perfume.
Next, add 2 cloves of garlic, 2 sprigs of rosemary leaves, the zest and juice of 1 orange, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, a glug of extra virgin olive oil, and then give it a good muddle, and it's ready for the meat.
Look at that. So just get that marinade and just rub it all over.
Wash your hands, and it's time for the prosciutto wrap.
So get yourself a nice large sheet of greaseproof paper, big enough to sort of go the length of that venison, like that. Just rub it with a little olive oil. So I've got this prosciutto here, and the thing we like about this is it's seasoned, it's salted, so that's going to add to flavour. It's laced with the most wonderful fat, which is really going to take care and look after that lovely lean cut of venison.
Lay out the prosciutto slices side by side, making sure they'll cover the whole length of the meat. Then place the venison on top.
The next stage is very, very simple. You simply just go like this and then peel it back a little bit, and then you just pull it back and you roll it again.
Easy. Now you need to tie the whole thing up to keep it all in place. But don't worry, nothing too technical. Simply slide individual bits of string underneath and tie in a knot.
So I like to do a double knot, once, twice, pull it down, not too tight, and do your knot.
Repeat all the way along and pop in a roasting tray with a slug of olive oil. Leave for a while and let the marinade work its flavour magic. Time to talk gravy.
The best gravy doesn't warrant a lot of work, but it does require a little time. and the flavour comes from bones. So I got this present from the butcher. Venison bones, you get them for free. I've roasted them off with a carrot and onion.
They've roasted for an hour until nice and sticky. Now you're ready for stage 2. Pop on a high heat and stir in a tablespoon of plain flour and half a bottle of Barolo. It's a pricey red. By all means, use something cheaper, but make sure it's something you'd be happy to drink.
So just move those bones around and scrape the sticky goodness off the bottom. This is going to be so good. For the gravy lovers, you're going to go nuts.
Cover with boiling water and gently simmer for 2 hours.
OK, so that tray of gravy has simmered beautifully. Put it through a sieve, and we've got nearly a pint of gorgeous, rich gravy, which is to die for. So good. So I'm going to leave that just on the lowest possible heat. Our lovely loin of venison, that goes in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit, about 25 minutes, half an hour, OK? And that's going to be beautiful and blushing inside. Happy days. Now, over here is a nice thing. We have got a little twist. We can have mashed potatoes, right? But no, you can do that, but I've split it 3 ways. 1/3 potato, 1/3 celeriac, and 1/3 Jerusalem artichokes.
Simply boil the lot in a pan of salted water for 15 to 20 minutes. Drain, then mash with a knob of butter and a splash of extra virgin olive oil.
This is going to be a mash like you've never had before. The meat has had its time. Now, let's just let it rest, OK? And that means letting all the natural juices really go back to where they came from.
While that rests, you can finish the gravy. Take it off the heat, add a knob of butter, then you're ready for the ingredient that takes it to the next level, 70% dark chocolate.
Why are you putting chocolate in my gravy? Right, OK. First up, we're only using a little bit, 20 grams, 25 grams. We don't want it to be chocolatey, but we want to use chocolate almost like you'd use anchovy in cooking. You don't want to taste it, but it just props up all the flavour. So from this, we're going to get a silkiness, we're going to get a subtle sweetness, and also a little bitterness that's going to work so well with the red wine. And then when you have that with your meat,
stir the chocolate in and you're ready to serve.
let's unleash this amazing roast venison. Look at that. The blushing colour.
Pile the plate with the delicious mash, top with juicy slices of venison, a side of lovely fresh greens, and smother liberally in the incredible red wine and chocolate gravy. That's what I call a roast.
The venison's so tender. That contrast of that dark, wonderful, rich, kick-ass gravy with the clean Jerusalem artichoke celeriac potato mash, it's so good. But I know for a fact that the guys in the cafe are going to go nuts for this. This weekend, I'd love you to have a go at this. This is the ultimate meatloaf, right? This is something that I really love. Comfort food at its best. It's big, feasting, family food.
This meatloaf is always a winner with my lot. Classically comforting and then ramped up a notch with pork and beef for flavour and juiciness, oozy mozzarella and a jacket of smoked bacon. All served with aromatic fennel, lashings of gravy and a volcano of mashed potato.
OK, first job. It's super simple. Let's get the veg cooking.
Throw a swig of olive oil into a large pan. Tear up some fresh sage and rosemary, then add 2 chopped onions and 2 carrots to make a rich veggie base.
Just a little bit of seasoning, and we'll slowly fry that on a medium-low heat for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Let it caramelise, let the flavours sweeten and really intensify. Then we'll let it cool down, and then that'll go in the meatloaf, and it will make all the difference.
Next up, fennel, the surprising star ingredient to make this meatloaf sing. I'm using 4 medium bulbs, sliced into wedges.
They're crunchy and they're aniseedy, but as you slow cook them or roast them, they just become sweet and savoury and have depth of flavour. Absolutely beautiful.
Lay the bulbs in the bottom of a roasting pan. Add a few chopped fennel tops for extra flavour and season and drizzle with olive oil. Give it all a good toss and then roast in the oven for 30 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit.
OK, So, the fennel has been roasting, and look, it's half cooked. That's looking very nice. This has cooled down, right? And it's lovely and sweet and gorgeous. So let's make the meatloaf, okay? And meatloaf can be made out of any blend of mincemeat, but let's get really into it. This is what makes it good or great to incredible.
For the best flavour, I'm using 1 kilo of pork shoulder and 1 kilo of beef brisket, but you can go for any good quality mince you like. Add your cooled down veg and 200 grams of breadcrumbs to absorb the juices and give the meatloaf lightness.
And then we're going to go in with 2... Aye. You all right?
Yeah.
Do you want to do some cooking?
Yeah.
Next, my 2 little helpers will crack in 2 eggs.
Eggs go in the middle.
Add a generous sprinkling of salt and pepper, 2 teaspoons of whole grain mustard, and then, to take this meatloaf to the next level, tear in a ball of creamy mozzarella.
We've got the seasoning and the veg, and the breadcrumbs soak up all the fat, and it's juicy and delicious. But then you get these little bombs of mozzarella that are gooey and sort of just gorgeous.
With all the elements added, it's all hands on deck for the mixing.
So try and keep it in the bowl. The points for keeping it in the bowl. I know this is a problem for you. Keep it in the bowl.
Make sure that all the ingredients are evenly distributed so that every bite will be layered with flavour. Once mixed, form it into a loaf shape and lay it in your dish of half-roasted fennel.
Now, we're going to roast it, but we want to do more. We want to add more flavour. So grab the bacon, please, buddy.
Crisscross the rashers of smoked bacon, leaving gaps so the rich fat can kiss the meat and the top can go crispy and golden. Then, to keep it nice and juicy, wet some greaseproof paper, cover and tuck it into bed.
Night.
Pop the meatloaf into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit and roast it initially for 30 minutes.
OK, so it's had half an hour and it's basically cooked now, but without character. I want to create an incredible sauce, and there's a really simple way to do that.
Take 500 ml of beef, chicken or veg stock, add a tablespoon of sun-dried tomato paste, then 2 tablespoons of blackcurrant jam, and give it a good stir.
So all we do now is pour that over, and like any gravy, all the sticky bits off the bottom of the tray will start to blend. Really nice, look at that.
Finish by scattering some sage and rosemary rubbed in a little olive oil over the meatloaf. Then pop it back into the oven for another 45 minutes to let all those gorgeous flavours come together.
So, the meatloaf is done. And this is what you get, ladies and gents.
Yum.
Look at that. Lovely gravy, gorgeous golden meatloaf.
Serve with fresh, lightly blanched greens, and then a proper 80s favourite, a volcano of creamy mashed potato erupting with melted butter.
Cabbage, volcano potatoes, lovely meatloaf. You ready to try some?
Yeah.
You know, the point is we don't want a dry meatloaf, so if we look in here, it's juicy.
So there you have it, guys, a classic weekend comforting meatloaf, deeply flavoured with smoked bacon and mozzarella on a bed of aromatic fennel, swimming in gorgeous gravy. The ultimate centrepiece for a family feast.
Absolutely comforting, delicious, deep flavour.
Really nice.
So juicy and tasty. The sweetness from the jam in the sauce is off the chart good. And then the fennel. Guys in the cafe, I'm gonna look after you. You're gonna love it. I've got a perfect recipe for this weekend, meat and potatoes. 2 best friends. This is a match made in heaven.
This knockout rack of lamb with a feisty pistachio and parsley crust, served with a luxurious potato al forno, is as big on flavour as it is easy to cook.
First up, the potato dish. Let's start with that.
Into a large pan, pour 600 millilitres of milk and 400 millilitres of double cream. Then throw in 3 or 4 bay leaves, a couple of sprigs of rosemary, a pinch of pepper and salt, and 6 anchovy fillets.
It will give you the most incredible depth of flavour that you won't want to be without.
Grate in half a nutmeg Then you want to add 8 cloves of garlic.
Yes, you heard it right. 8 cloves of garlic. Pongy, gorgeous garlic. This is the dish to do it, guys.
Bring it to a light simmer on a medium heat while you finely slice a kilo of potatoes.
This potato dish is one of my favourite potato dishes ever.
Next, slice up 2 bulbs of fennel and 2 onions.
So let's have a little look at that. We don't want to just boil and boil and boil it. It's an infusion, just to get the party started.
Fish out the rosemary and the bay leaves. Grate in about 50 grams of parmesan, then add the potatoes, fennel and onions to the pan. And even if it's a bit messy, it's okay. Mix it all together, then pack it down.
I'm just going to do a nice final layer of potatoes on top. There's no reason to do this other than it just kind of looks cute.
Cover with tin foil and then whack it in the oven and bake at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for an initial half an hour. Next, the lamb. 1 rack feeds 2 people.
Rack of lamb. It is the prime cut on the whole animal. Absolutely beautiful.
Ask your butcher for a French trimmed rack of lamb with the cap meat removed and the sinews trimmed off. But if you get one that's still got a top layer of fat, it's easy to trim that off yourself.
I want this rack of lamb to be so tender, so melt in your mouth, nothing should get in the way of it, right? Because we're going to put a lovely crust on top of here. And I don't want to chew on anything. I want it to be tender, tender, tender.
Put a little olive oil and butter into a hot pan. Season the lamb with salt and pepper and sear for a few minutes.
The rack of lamb is seared golden, but it's completely raw inside. And then what I want to do is the most unbelievable crust.
Into a food processor, drop 100 grams of pistachios with a bunch of flat leaf parsley. Tear in 75 grams of bread, 2 cloves of garlic, and grate in half a nutmeg.
Lid on and wazz it all up.
While that's going, smear the lamb racks generously with Dijon mustard.
Don't worry, it's going to mellow out in the cooking. It's going to really make this dish. Don't be stingy, because it sticks this crust together and it gives you the most incredible flavour.
Pile the herby crumb onto the lamb and press down to form a crust. Meanwhile, take the foil off the spuds, give them another grate of parmesan on top if you fancy, and put them back into the oven and bake for a further 45 minutes. 10 minutes later, put the lamb into the same oven. It'll need 25 minutes to cook and 10 to rest, so the spuds and the meat will be ready at the same time.
Right, little clean down, glass of wine, and then I'll show you how to serve it up. So the lamb has been out just resting, so all the juices can kind of go back to where they came from. It's looking beautiful. What I like to do is just put a rack, just like that, on a board and let people kind of slice their own at the table. Look at the colour. Really, really nice. And then from the oven, we want our potato and fennel al forno. Serve it sizzling, just like that.
Garnish with fennel tops, then dish up with a side of green beans.
Let's get in there with the lamb. And of course, the point of the lamb is with that sauce from the potatoes. Just tender. So good.
Gorgeous pink lamb with a wonderful green crust, served with garlicky, fennel-y potato al forno. This is a proper little gem for the weekend.
The guys in the cafe are gonna go nuts at that. Cheers. Enjoy. Ah, you want pie, do you? Well, I've got a pie for you. We are gonna make roasted meat pie. You heard it, roasted meat pie. Not just boiled meat pie, roasted. Extra flavour, extra texture, and extra smiles. Come on.
This pie is packed full of roasted succulent game birds to give you a special something this weekend.
We have a chicken over here, but then we have mallard, we have pheasant, we have a beautiful grouse, we have partridge. The list goes on and on that you could use, but mix it up.
We're going to dress them with olive oil, seasoning and crushed juniper berries before bashing up some thyme, rosemary and bay leaves for an aromatic herby hit.
Beautiful natural colours and flavours.
Then it's an hour in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit.
So while those birds roast away in the oven, let's start the story with the ragu. We're going to start off with some gorgeous smoked, dry-cured bacon. The flavour that you get, the smoke, the fat that will render out. A couple of bay leaves go in, maybe a little sprig of rosemary, and then we can start adding the veg.
This is a classic ragu base of juicy carrots, sweet red onions, leeks and celery.
You know, it's this frying and the breaking down of all the natural sugars. That's where the massive flavour is. That's where you're going to put something in your mouth and go, wow.
Once the veggies have softened, add some chunky potatoes and season. Oh yes.
Because the birds are going to be roasting for like another 45 minutes, let's let that slowly sweat off for 45 minutes. Oh my Lord, the flavour you will get by just slowing it down is amazing.
And it'll be so worth the wait.
What a beautiful, beautiful sight. Literally, just pull the whole thing apart. What you're going to feel is the difference in texture. For the people that have never eaten game before, this is your opportunity, guys, because you can have your chicken and just a few bits of game. And then if you like it, add a little bit more next time and a bit more next time. The grouse. And now we're on to the pheasant. Normally, if you're getting game birds in season, it's very reasonable.
All these bones will make a brilliant stock for another day.
There's just flavour and value everywhere. Don't throw nothing away. 2 tablespoons of plain flour go in. That's your thickening agent. And then in with about 500 millilitres of cider. Cheers to that.
Give it a stir and boost its flavour even more with good chicken stock and those incredible roasting juices from the tray.
Maximum flavour.
And all that delicious meat.
And that, my friends, is going to be the most mega stew ever.
So we'll strain it before it goes in to give you the perfect pie consistency, and then we've got loads of gravy for pouring later.
Pastry time. We're going to go half butter, half suet. To that, we're going to add 800 grams of plain flour, a good pinch of salt, 3 lovely eggs, and then find that fat and just use your thumbs to mix it in.
A splash of water, and the whole thing should start to come together.
It's going to look a bit rough and ready. That's fine. You want to keep it short. If you keep kneading it, it won't be crumbly. Right, can you see there's still chunks of suet in here? I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to let that cool down, and then we'll fill it.
And be patient, it's the weekend. Chilling it will stop your pastry shrinking during cooking and make it easier to roll.
Let's make this pie. I want to go about ½ a centimetre thick, then roll it back up. Olive oil into a dish, get right up the sides. We get our filling. What's nice about it chilling again is the gravy kind of solidifies. So you want to just chivvy in this edge, this rim, like that. Just tuck it under like this. What I want to do is put my thumb in here and pinch around it. You know, you can get all kinds of cutters, you can get leaves, you can do plaits, you can do shapes, all sorts. But to be honest, at the weekend, I've put enough love into it. Just use 2 fingers and a thumb and you'd be amazed what you can achieve. And a beautiful roasted meat pie has been born. Happy days. Just egg wash the centre part. And I do want to just create a little star to relieve the steam, and look at that. It's going to be amazing.
After an hour in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit, your wonderful weekend feast will emerge.
Look, you can see how crispy that pastry is going to be. Wow. Oh, guys, look at that, look at the flake. Look at the thickness of that pastry there. You know that people are going to fight for that. There's never enough pastry, is there? But we got it bottom, side and top, and a big old handle, a love handle, which you'll definitely get if you keep eating too much pie. But for this weekend, only yes. Just hit it up with some seasonal greens. Oh. It is nuts. Loads of different flavours happening there, different chunks of meat. It's the weekend! Time for some beautiful finger-licking ribs.
This is a proper weekend treat. Melt in your mouth whiskey wood-smoked baby back ribs with homemade barbecue sauce and a perfectly light potato salad.
Not American style, not Asian style or Korean style, British style. So first up, you'd normally make a rub, but I'm gonna switch that for a flavoured salt. And we're adding 100 grams of sea salt, and then probably around 50 grams of white pepper. Whole corns going in like that, 2 tablespoons. And then I'm gonna use 10 fresh bay leaves.
Just use a couple of tablespoons of the salt and give them a nice massage with a splash of olive oil. You can save the rest for another recipe.
So before we wrap this up, we want to add a little bit of moisture. So you could use water, or you could use a little whiskey. Just a shot.
That's the ribs oven ready. The sauce is just as simple, kicking off with a splash more whiskey.
Just because I'm flamboyant these days, what I want to do is just set light to that. It'll just evaporate the alcohol and bring out more caramelised, rounder notes. You don't have to do it. Just don't burn the place down.
This is going to give the ribs a knockout sticky glaze full of British flavours. Brown sauce, tomato sauce and Worcestershire sauce.
This is the crazy sauce. It couldn't be simpler. We're decanting stuff that most of us have in our cupboard.
A whole jar of English mustard, a bottle of apple juice and a jar of runny honey.
It's quintessentially British. It's about that tang and that beautiful finish on the palate.
Bring the whole lot to a boil and it's ready to reduce in the oven.
I am going to put the ribs on the top, whack the sauce in the bottom. We're going to cook it at 140 degrees Celsius.
Leave your ribs alone for 3 hours and enjoy the weekend. By the time you're back, the ribs will be beautifully soft.
Whee. If I pull the meat here, you know, it's tender. We want the barbecue sauce to just coat it. You know, it's quite good to pour it instead of brush it. I think you get a better appearance. We can just move our ribs around and just coat them. Gorgeous. So get your bars out of the oven. And then what I want to do is just rack them up like that.
All the leftover sauce can be bagged up or used at the table for dipping.
So these go back in.
These need another 30 minutes for the sauce to fix to them. And there's a genius hack that I do all the time to get them all smoky. You can easily get yourself some wood chips sold for smoking. You can get fruit woods or even bourbon and whiskey barrel.
If you're blagging it at home, a metal sieve like this, you can just grab a little handful of these chips. You just catch them on fire. So it's not dangerous, okay? And then we'll put this in the oven. You can see the flame subside and the smoke rotate around the whole oven. It's a brilliant little hack for a little house smoker.
You don't have to do this, but if you do, make sure your sieve is stainless steel. And if in doubt, check with your oven manufacturer that it's safe.
So let's do an epic potato salad.
I'm massively reducing the usual calories by using yogurt instead of mayonnaise. Flavoured with good extra virgin olive oil, whole grain mustard, finely sliced pickled onions, and a little vinegar from the jar, and chives.
And then last but not least, a little surprise ingredient, pear. You know, that little bit of sweetness and crunch really works well. This is about having contrast and surprise.
Mix in chopped up soft-boiled new potatoes whilst they're still warm so they absorb all the dressing much better.
It's still creamy, it's still absolutely indulgent.
Give it a last kiss of extra virgin olive oil and a flourish of chives.
Now, let's get the ribs. Smells amazing. That barbecue sauce just tightens up. It's the perfect surround for that tender, delicious meat. Wow. Let's get a nice wodge of that potato salad. Get those beautiful, beautiful ribs.
Amazing home-smoked British ribs, finished with a little extra sauce and sliced radishes for a peppery crunch.
And that, my friends, is a beautiful, beautiful plate of food. Come on, let's get in there. Oh, tender meat, so spicy, sweet and sour, and proper potato salad. really joyful. Perfect for the weekend. So here we are, Jennifer, in my mobile pub.
Best pub in the world.
What do you think?
Well, I love it because A, it's local, and I think it's just so cosy, and you've got everything you need here.
Beer in the barrels. I've got a glass of red wine opened ready for you. Now, you used to live in Italy, didn't you? Italy's a big thing for you.
Well, do you know, I spent what you would call your gap year now.
So you went to?
And I started off in Milan, working for a family, and then I went down to just above Rome.
Beautiful.
And I tell you, I've been addicted to Italy ever since. And Aid and I go every year now. And we basically go for the food.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing.
You know what we're doing?
What we're doing?
Well, I know you like your food.
Yes.
And I know your husband is a very good cook.
Yes.
And I thought it's time for a bit of girl power. Give you a dish
Okay.
that can kind of like put him back in his place. Because we know he's good.
Hurrah.
But like, you know, sometimes
Yeah,
you just
yeah,
got
yeah.
So we're doing porchetta, which I think is an amazing thing.
Oh, do you know, it's
for-
one of my... I actually fantasize about porchetta
Do you?
sometimes, yes.
Have you ever made it?
No.
Okay. What we got here, let's talk.
It's a huge bit of pork.
This will feed 30 people. So the porchetta is the loin,
Yeah.
and we've got the belly. So some people have cooked loin and they've had pork chops. Some people have had belly. Porchetta is both. But before we even start with that, let's talk about the stuffing.
Because that is the most important thing
Yes.
in porchetta.
First, chop up some red onions. Season with salt and pepper. Add a ripped up handful of sage. Bash up some pine nuts and mix in with a teaspoon of whole fennel seeds.
So we're just going to shake this up.
You see, what I love about Italy is how proud they are of their food. You know what I mean? That they eat it like they're proud of it, and they serve it like they're proud of
It's
it.
kind of part of them, isn't it?
The place we go now is on the Amalfi Coast, and we found it because we were on a boat once, and we pulled into this little cove because the boys wanted some beers. And the little man on a rowing boat comes out, and he takes you in, and it's just a shack, and it serves the best food I've ever tasted in my life. And you look in, and there's a little window into this rough old kitchen, and there's a chef there with a fag on, just cooking it up, and I think, that's perfect.
You know what's funny?
That's what I love. That's what I love, those little rough restaurants that serve cracking food.
So look, we're getting some sweetness happening here. I'm going to go in with the chicken livers. They're going to give a wonderful savouriness
I
to
love
this.
a bit of offal.
Do you?
I do, and I have to say, even, you know, when we had it at school dinners, they used to serve up some bits of dried up liver floating in a gravy. I still enjoyed that. I do like a bit of liver and kidneys.
Do you like gravy more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now add some raisins that I've soaked in Vinsanto, a sweet Italian wine.
Breadcrumbs. Now we could use breadcrumbs like this, okay, which would do a great job because we're kind of going to use that to make that kind of binding stuffing.
Yes.
But I was shown by beautiful little Nonna to toast, whether it's on charcoal wood, in a wood oven, some bread, and you get a wonderful smoky flavour.
Okay.
And we just rub it with a little rosemary. Now,
It's very good, this pub, isn't it?
yeah, it's lovely. There's booze, there's food.
Just
See,
everything
I
you'd
just-
want.
That looks like I've burnt it.
Yeah.
And you're right, I have burnt it.
You have burnt it. So
But-
you're going to scrape it off.
But it's that kind of caramelisation that's the flavour that we want.
Yeah.
But if you can rub that with some rosemary and one little bit, even if you did one little rub of that
Got a
garlic.
little rub of the garlic.
See,
Oh, my God.
do you know what I mean?
Garlic and rosemary bread, isn't that nice?
All I'm going to do now is just tear it up and chop it up.
Right.
And we're sort of done on the stuffing. This is nice for me because I grew up with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I've loved all your work. But also, I equally love your husband
Yeah.
as much as you.
Well, you see, when I first met Aid, he didn't really cook that much at all. The second we had a little bit of money, we'd think, oh, let's go and have a nice meal. You know,
Yeah.
we'd always go and eat.
Well, I used to cook for you, didn't I, at the River
Yes,
Cafe?
at the River Cafe. You did.
Very exciting.
And that was our...
I think I brought a ravioli to your table once.
Did you?
Yes. And it's funny because often in London you're in a basement, and obviously
Yeah.
in the River Cafe you've got a beautiful
Yeah,
view.
you can
But
see everybody.
when people you recognise come in, it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
But I did have my pasta sent back from Robert De Niro once.
No
Yeah, he asked.
way.
He went off menu. God damn him! And he asked for a spaghetti arrabbiata, which is obviously arrabbiata meaning
Yeah,
angry.
hot, yeah.
Loads of chilli. I put loads of chilli in it because I love chilli. You know I love chilli.
Yeah.
It weren't hot enough for him.
It
So,
wasn't hot
yeah,
enough for him.
I had to put twice as much chilli in. He must have the stomach of an absolute like warrior. Do you?
Did that Graham Norton show with him.
Did you?
Yeah, and he was quite sticky.
Yeah.
He was fine off camera, but on camera I thought, oh, come on,
Yeah.
loosen up, help Graham a little bit here, you know, say something.
I'm sorry it's taking time, but I'm kind of enjoying this and I'm not
I'm
rushing
loving it.
And I'm on gas.
But I think that's half the thing about cooking, it's a social thing.
Other little things you can do is just a little lemon, just having those little layers of flavours.
Yeah.
So we're done.
Oh, God, that smells good.
We've made the stuffing. Next, we've got to pull the whole dish together.
So I was wondering, did you read 50 Shades of Grey?
No, I'm
This is not a planned
sorry.
question, by the way.
I'm not, I didn't actually.
No, nor did
Why?
I. No, because all I know is there was a lot of
Italian cooking,
tying up
isn't it?
and spanking.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing spanking,
Okay.
but tying up I thought might be quite nice.
Oh, OK. Let's wrap that pork.
In Friday Night Feasts, I mean, a lot of the food we're doing isn't your everyday fare. It's kind of the awesome, the ultimate,
Yeah.
like the all-out meal. What we want to do here now, season it up. So, darling, if you could season with pepper and salt. So then I'm going to get my stuffing, and we are going to put this into here. Now this bread has sort of sucked up all that juice.
Yeah.
It probably looks a bit gross, but with clean hands, we're scrunching it. The Italians don't muck about with flavour. They're not, you know, there's no polite way to earn stripes and flavour. Sometimes you just got to be
Straight in
getting
there.
amongst it. Over there, oysters. Oysters were the food of the peasants.
Yes,
There
completely.
was often more oysters in pies than meat, but most importantly, they have that minerally saltiness. And when that cooks for 2.5 hours inside there, there will be no oyster as you would know it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just going to
It's
become
just
this,
gonna
like, you know,
become
like
a
fish
flavour.
sauce in
yeah,
Thai
yeah,
cooking.
Yeah, lovely.
So,
Nice.
only one last thing to do. Parmesan. It has a wonderful seasoning quality, so I use it as a seasoning more than a cheese. So, there you go. Now we just got to roll it up.
Roll it up.
And that simply happens by this. And then the responsibility, my dear,
Of tying it up.
comes to you.
What do we think? How many metres?
I think about 4 metres.
OK,
Double wrap knot.
double wrap knot.
Nice and tight, about 80% your strength.
And then
Flop it.
it's over.
And then just take pride in sort of about 1.5 inches away from that
Okay,
knot.
yeah.
Keep the knots roughly in the same place. Now you've secured it beautifully, flip it over, and all I do is grab these bits of string and then just secure this side. Go on, you do the last bit.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, you see?
How satisfying is that?
It's
Look.
the gift that keeps on giving. So there you go, missus. So we're going to rub this with a little olive oil. Do you mind grabbing that and just giving me a drizzle up? So just going to whack that in the oven now at 220 degrees Celsius for about half an hour, 40 minutes, just to get that crackling going. And then I'll turn the oven down to 180 for an hour and a half, or just until that pork belly just pulls apart and it's gorgeous. Then we can let it rest for half an hour. Roast potatoes, greens, gravy. Maybe we'll get your husband.
Yes.
We'll have a drink. It's going
I'm
to be
calling him.
gorgeous.
I'm calling him. He's
You're going to call him?
Yeah, I'm going to call him.
Let's clear down.
The pork is in the oven and hubby Aid Edmondson has arrived. But will our ultimate roast pork impress him?
So here we are.
Yeah.
And we've got Aid here now.
Yes.
Hello.
You smelt our pork.
Really hungry.
Look at that. For a bit of meat.
Oh, my God. That is
Thank you, that's my portion.
Happy. Get your nice knife and fork.
That's just the best.
So
Look at that.
I thought what we do now is make some really good gravy. When the pork had been in at full whack
Yeah.
for about 40 minutes, I took it out. I put the kind of carrots, the onions, you know, a few herbs, the apple in. And then, of course, now what we've got is the really lovely potential of gravy. Look, even a bit of stuffing's come out there as well, so you know that's going to give good flavour. A little bit of flour,
This is stock.
if you wanted to. Yeah, just veg or chicken stock, no big deal. So,
God, that looks good.
Isn't that fantastic?
so that's what we're talking about. Your wife's very good tying there.
Yeah, very good stringing, I think.
Very good. You want to watch out.
This is the secret to a long
Gonna have your
marriage
twist up
happening here.
Oh, my God. That's so good.
And to finish it off, serve the porchetta with lovely roast spuds, wilted greens and a roast apple sauce. Not forgetting that rustic gravy.
You're eating off the board.
Yes.
Do you want a bit of cabbage?
Yes, thank you. That's a little bit of roasted apple sauce, and look at that.
Look at that. Wow.
There you go, Aid.
That is amazing. The stuffing is amazing.
So, do you think you'll have a go at that?
I definitely will have a go at that. I have all the skills. I have a memory of what goes into it.
And a family to feed.
And a family to feed.
To the pig.
The pig.
To the pig.